The marble floor of the Vatican archive is unnervingly cold, a stillness that seems to absorb the weight of centuries. I am kneeling, not in prayer, but in desperation. My name is Elias, and until 3 hours ago, I was an architect governed by the rigid, soulless laws of Euclidean geometry. Now, I am a man untethered from reality. In my hands lies a fragment of vellum so brittle it threatens to turn to dust at the slightest tremor of my breath. It was hidden behind a false panel in a 16th century codex, a place no historian had disturbed for 500 years. As I trace the faded ink, the air in the vault feels different, thick with an atmospheric pressure that makes the hair on my arms stand upright. Is it possible that we have been reading our own history backward? We look at the ruins of the past, the Parthenon, the Great Pyramid, the ziggurats, and we see primitive effort struggling toward ambition. We see worship, but as I lay this fragment over the structural scan of the Parthenon on my tablet, the lines align with a precision that defies explanation. The columns, the pediment, the hidden ratios of the floor plan, they aren't just art, they are a map. I stare at the parchment. There is a symbol here, a fractal pattern etched in fine, iron gall ink. It depicts a repeating geometric progression, one that maps perfectly onto the human heartbeat. My pulse accelerates, echoing the rhythm captured on the page. The realization hits me with the force of a physical impact. These structures were never meant to be static monuments. They were built to resonate. They were built to sing. When we speak of the ancients, we patronize them. We imagine them hauling stone by brute force, blinded by superstition. But what if the stone was never hauled? What if the geometry of the structure was the key to manipulating the very fabric of the environment? The manuscript details a frequency, a divine harmonic, that, when channeled through specific crystalline quartz inclusions in the marble, causes the material to vibrate at a molecular level. It is not magic. It is an acoustic engineering of a sophistication that renders our modern industrial age look like a child playing with blocks. I look up at the shadows cast by the high, vaulted shelves of the archive. The silence here is no longer hollow. It is pregnant with intent. I can almost hear it, a low-frequency thrumming, an ancient echo vibrating through the foundation of the very building I stand in. I recall the text from the Book of Kings. We were told of the Temple of Solomon, a place where the presence of the divine was so heavy, so tangible, that it commanded silence. For generations, theologians have debated the nature of this glory. But looking at this geometry, I see it differently. I see a design for an insulator, a vast containment field for an energy we have yet to name. The gold, the acacia wood, the precise internal measurements. These were not aesthetic choices to satisfy a deity. They were the specifications for an acoustic chamber designed to amplify and sustain a specific, coherent field of energy. The weight of this discovery is suffocating. If the ancients understood how to bind frequency to matter, then our entire history of human civilization is a lie. We haven't been progressing toward enlightenment. We have been suffering from a collective amnesia, wandering through the ruins of a technology we no longer have the ears to hear. I quickly scan the final lines of the fragment. My eyes widen. The map does not just point to a location in the Levant. It indicates that the network is still active, buried beneath the tectonic shifts of millennia. The frequency is still pulsing. It is a slow, rhythmic throb deep within the earth, waiting for the right key to harmonize with it. A sudden, sharp sound, the heavy latch of the vault door clicking into place, shatters the stillness. My heart hammers against my ribs, a chaotic syncopation against the steady rhythm of the parchment's diagram. I am not supposed to be here. The lights in the vault flicker, a strange, rhythmic oscillation that matches the fractal on the page. For a fleeting second, the stone floor beneath me seems to lose its density, turning into something fluid and vibrant. I press the vellum to my chest, my hands shaking. I have spent my life building structures that hold space. Now, I have found a structure that holds a secret that has waited for an architect to finally read the blueprint correctly. I glance at the doorway. The shadows are lengthening, stretching out like fingers reaching for the truth I now carry. I know, with a clarity that frightens me, that the moment I leave this room, my old life, the deadlines, the concrete, the rational world, is over. There is a song playing in the foundation of the world, and for the first time in history, someone has finally learned how to listen. I tuck the fragment into my inner pocket, the cold of the vellum seeping through my coat. I walk toward the exit, my steps measured, deliberate. I am no longer just an observer of history. I am the first to enter the resonance. And as I step out into the long, dark corridor of the Vatican, I realize that the echoes are no longer behind me. They are calling me forward. The city outside my window is a frantic blur of noise and light, a chaotic symphony of modern life that grates against the newfound silence in my mind. I sit at my drafting table, the vellum fragment from the Vatican spread before me like a map of a forgotten galaxy. My colleagues think I am suffering from exhaustion, a burnout-induced fever dream. They see a tired architect. They do not see the man who has spent the last 48 hours tracing the geometric shadow of the Tower of Babel. In the standard narratives of antiquity, Babel is a fable of hubris, a cautionary tale of humanity's pride rising to meet the clouds and being scattered by a divine hand. We are told the story of a singular language shattered into a cacophony of confusion. But as I layer the architectural proportions of ancient ziggurats, Etemenanke, Uar, the hidden foundation levels of the Mesopotamian plains, over the grid pattern I have derived from the parchment, the narrative shifts. It ceases to be a moral lesson and becomes an engineering mystery. The language mentioned in the ancient texts was never merely a way of speaking. It was a frequency, a shared harmonic code. I close my eyes, and the drafting table vanishes. I am no longer in my studio. I am standing upon the shifting sands of a time before history was carved in stone. I see it rising, not a tower of mud and brick, but a crystalline spire reaching toward the ionosphere. It is not an instrument of dominance, but an instrument of connection. A global network of acoustic beacons, each tuned to a precise vibration, creating a bridge of resonance between civilization and civilization. It was an atmospheric telephone, a way of anchoring the collective human consciousness to a single, stable frequency. I shake my head, the vision receding, leaving me breathless in the dim light of my office. My own blueprints, the ones I was working on for the new Metropolitan Library, lie beneath the vellum. I reach out to pull them away, but my hand freezes. The lines I drew, the structural supports, the airflow vents, the acoustic dampening chambers, have been altered. The ink is still wet, yet the patterns are not mine. They are reflections of the Babel geometry, a complex, self-organizing fractal that seems to have rewritten my own design. It is as if the knowledge itself is sentient, seeking a vessel to manifest back into the physical world. The fear is not immediate. It is a creeping, intellectual cold. If this structure was designed to communicate across the globe, its collapse was not merely a loss of linguistic unity. It was a sensory deprivation for the human race. We were forced into the dark, our ability to sense the harmonic code of the world severed. And now, the code is trying to find its way back into our architecture. The phone on my desk rings, a shrill, intrusive sound that shatters the delicate balance of the room. I do not answer. I know who it is. Ever since I left the archives, the world has felt watched. There are collectors, men who trade in the debris of history, who know that the architect's blueprint is more than a legend. They understand that he who controls the resonance controls the narrative of the future. I look at the altered blueprints again. The geometric symbols are beautiful, precise, balanced, and terrifyingly perfect. They suggest that the Tower of Babel was not a target of divine wrath, but a necessary decommission. When the energy became too great, the connection had to be severed to prevent a catastrophic dissonance. But we have reached a point in our technological evolution where we are beginning to touch those frequencies again, blindly, without the wisdom of the original designers. I pick up a compass, my movements precise, mechanical. I begin to trace the lines of the Babel frequency into the foundation of my own designs. I am not trying to build a tower. I am trying to build a receiver. If I can prove that these ancient shapes can manipulate the air and the light within a modern structure, I can prove that the history of our species is a story of lost technological heritage. The air in the room grows heavy, charged with a static hum. The shadows in the corner of the office seem to coalesce, shifting like dark water. I feel a presence, not a physical intruder, but the weight of the past itself, leaning in to watch my work. I realize then that I am not just a chronicler of a lost era. I am a bridge. The ancients left behind a roadmap, and the code is written in the language of light and structure. I turn off the lamp. In the darkness, the faint, geometric glow emanating from the blueprints becomes visible, a soft, pulsating azure light that mirrors the rhythm of my own breathing. The Tower of Babel is not a ruin buried in the dust of history. It is a blueprint waiting to be unfolded. And for the first time, I understand the true nature of the confusion of tongues. It was never about words. It was about the loss of our ability to hear the fundamental resonance of the world. I take a breath and prepare to continue. The door to my office remains locked, but the air around me is alive with the hum of a frequency that has been silent for 5,000 years. The work has only just begun. The final piece of the puzzle does not lie in a library or a tomb, but in the realization that we are the architecture we have been searching for all along. As I stand amidst the ruins, the stones that once breathed with the harmonic pulse of a lost age, I finally understand why the blueprints were left for us. They were not instructions for a machine, but a mirror for the human soul. The Ark, the Tower, the temples of the old world. These were never just cold stone and gold. They were attempts to bridge the vast, silent gap between the mortal mind and the infinite resonance of the universe. The journey has stripped away the layers of modern cynicism. I look at my hands, stained with the dust of centuries, and I see the same geometry that holds the stars in their orbits. The ancients understood that we are not observers of the world. We are its conductors. Every structure we build, every thought we broadcast, every word we speak, is a frequency. We have spent an epoch living in the discord of our own making, forgetting that we were once part of a symphony that spanned the globe. I think back to that brittle vellum in the Vatican, the way it flickered in the dark, calling out to be understood. I realize now that it was never about unlocking a hidden power source to fuel our machines or to dominate the earth. That was the mistake of Babel. That was the hubris of the ages. The true power was always the capacity to harmonize. The Ark of the Covenant, the golden proportions of the sanctuary, the precise alignment of the megaliths. These were not capacitors of electricity, but catalysts for coherence. They were designed to quiet the noise of human ego, to bring the chaotic vibrations of the spirit into alignment with the fundamental order of the cosmos. I stand at the precipice of a new understanding. The shadow men who pursued me, the collectors who hungered for the blueprints, they were chasing the wrong shadow. They wanted the keys to the kingdom without the wisdom to inhabit it. They sought to possess the architecture, never realizing that the structure only reveals its secrets to those who have dismantled their own internal dissonance. I reach into my pocket and feel the fragment of the blueprint. It is warm now, vibrating with a gentle, steady hum that resonates deep within my chest. I know what must be done. The blueprints cannot be hoarded in a vault or sold to the highest bidder. They must be disseminated, returned to the foundation of human knowledge, not as a technical manual for the past, but as a meditation for the future. We are reaching a moment in our collective history where the noise has become deafening. We are teetering on the edge of another great fragmentation, another era where our tongues will be confused, not by language, but by our inability to listen to the frequency of our shared humanity. But I am no longer afraid. The resonance is spreading. As I leave the site, I see the landscape in a new light. The patterns are everywhere, in the branching of the trees, the spiral of the shells, the rhythm of the tides, and the complex, beautiful geometry of the human heart. We are not lost. We are simply relearning how to tune our instruments. This journey has been a descent into the dark, a necessary passage through the crucible of historical mystery, but it has led to an inevitable, blinding illumination. The blueprint of the gods is written in the language of light and vibration, and it is a language that everyone can learn. It is the language of empathy, of balance, and of deep, unwavering presence. We are the architects of the next civilization. What we build from this moment forward will define whether we continue to repeat the errors of the past or finally, truly, step into the harmony we have been seeking since the dawn of time. I look up at the vast, star-strewn sky. The stars, too, are vibrating, casting their light across the eons, a cosmic architecture that has stood for eternity. I am a small part of this, a fleeting shadow, yet I am connected to the whole. I am a note in the song that never ends. I tuck the blueprint away. I do not need to read it anymore. It is burned into my memory, etched into my very bones. The path ahead is uncertain, and the world is still full of static, but I walk with a sense of purpose that transcends the material. The silence behind me is no longer hollow. It is a promise. We have been given the blueprints, and the foundation is laid. Now, the real work begins. The work of building a world that resonates with the truth of who we were always meant to be. I am Elias, the architect of a new resonance, and I have finally found my home in the geometry of the infinite. The story does not end with the discovery of the artifact. It ends with the realization that the artifact was only the beginning of a transformation that must take place within each of us. We are the builders. We are the song. We are the architecture of the future, and the world is waiting for us to finally begin to play.